So, andito na naman tayo sa ating program na Master of Economics. Then, let's talk about economics, no? Na ang topic natin po ngayon ay competitive versus the non-competitive markets po sa ating ekonomiya. And we're going to discuss the market structures ng ating ekonomiya dito sa ating bansa. Okay. So to begin with, let's talk about these competitive and the non-competitive markets. Okay. So dito po sa makikita ninyo na article, no? So competitive markets po are considered to be where the supply of stuff created equates to the demand of the stuff which is bought up. So meaning to say, meron po silang equality. So meaning to say, the supply and the demand equates themselves. So ibig sabihin, they are equal. Equal ang supply, equal ang demand. So that is under what we call as the competitive markets. Kaya nga they are considered to be as these are products which are identical and or homogeneous, no? So let's continue. So here you have a competitive market where firms are price takers, no? So the firms are considered to be as a price taker. So not price maker, kasi po kaya price taker, because the firm under this competitive market, they cannot decide in terms of the price. That's why they are considered to be as price taker. So we will understand that later, no? Now, these firms within the competitive markets are price takers and not price makers, which means that they have to set prices, no, based on the market. So nakabase po sa market yung mga presyo na kanilang ibinebenta sa mga consumer. So because competition will undercut, no, the price if it is too high. So it will be undercut, no? May undercut siya if the price po is too high. So kasi they are within the realm of competitive market. So therefore hindi sila pwedeng magtaas ng ura-urada, dahil pag nagtaas sila, magkakaproblema sila, at yun nga yung nasabi nating undercut, no? Undercut. So when the supply equates demand, no? Makikita ninyo. Alright, let me lalakihan natin para makita ninyo ng husto, no? Okay. So when the supply is equals to demand, or equates, no? We're at equilibrium. Nobody can undercut anyone anymore. And all is right in the world of buyers and sellers. So pag nag-equate po itong supply at demand, equal supply, equal demand, no? That is considered to be as an equilibrium already. At wala nang maaaring mag-undercut, no? No one can undercut anymore. So yun po yung paliwanag dito sa ating competitive market. So kailangan po lahat talaga, no, ay sumunod doon sa kung ano yung presyo sa market. Right? Kung ano, what is the price in the market. Mamaya po magbibigay tayo ng mga examples dyan, no? Right after we've discussed the market structures. Right? So laging tatandaan po, yung competitive market kasi, these are products which is or which are identical with each other and they are homogeneous. Next here is that, alright, so in the real world po, competitive markets are obvious. The sellers that are working hard to get buyers by slashing prices, differentiating their products, and building what we all love to hate and hate to love, brand loyalty. But there are also perfectly competitive markets, which is theoretical, fairy tale land, where all products are exactly the same, all the prices are the same, and entering and exiting the market is no skin off your teeth. In both cases, in both cases po, firms are price takers, alright? Firms are price takers. So, meaning to say po kasi dito sa competitive market, kung ano yung presyo ng produkto na yun na yung tatanggapin ng mga firm. They cannot impose prices because of there are a lot of firm na nagbebenta rin ng ganong klaseng produkto. Alright? Dito sa competitive market. Alright? So, they are price taker. They will take it. Not unlike the, what we call as the non-competitive market. Okay? So, remember that competitive markets are considered to be as price takers. They are price takers, right? So let's look at the non-competitive markets here. Right? So let's look. So guys, in the non-competitive market naman, firms are price makers. So these are price makers naman. So a monopoly is a good example of a non-competitive market because by definition, a monopolist is a firm that has a market all to themselves. Alright? What if there was only one supplier of smartphones in the world? That firm would be a monopoly, and it could raise the prices on all smartphones. Sure, fewer smartphones would be bought, but the monopolist would actually make more money doing this. So they would, of course, no? Because they're the only one who supplies it, if ever. And you have non-competitive markets when firms are more incentivized to stay away from the equilibrium where supply equals demand, because that's not where the money is at when you're a price maker. Alright, so meaning to say, dito sa non-competitive markets, guys, ito sa non-competitive markets, it only explains, no? Kasi nagbigay sila ng example, yung monopoly. That's why this monopoly, this firm which monopolizes the market, they are considered to be a price maker because they are the only one who supplies what we call as the goods and or services. Okay? So, that's the difference between a competitive market and a non-competitive market. Alright? So, a competitive market, which is a price taker, and a non-competitive market, which is a price maker. Right? Let us now delve deep into this study. Right? I'm going to pull out another data here so we can understand clearly there. Okay, so actually there are four types of what we call as the market structure, right? Four types of market structure. So we have the monopoly, no? So monopoly is considered to be as a one firm, no? Oligopoly pertains to a few firms. Then, in terms of many firms, we have here what we call as the monopolistic competition, in which they have products which are differentiated. And in terms of perfect competition, which involves many firms, they sell products which are identical, no? Identical. So you will see the difference between makikita mo yung pagkakaiba sa pagitan ng monopolistic competition at ng perfect competition. Yung monopolistic competition, mga katoto, differentiated yung produkto. Samantalang dito naman sa perfect competition ay identical yung mga produkto na ibebenta. Kung makikita ninyo sa baba, dito sa may Monopoly, you will see may example pa dyan nakalagay. Siguro may mga company in other country which monopolizes tap water, then cable TV. Then in Oligopoly, tennis balls, and or crude oil. In a monopolistic competition, we have novels and movies, no? In perfect competition, we have wheat and milk, right? So, we will delve deeper pa. So, these are the four types. These are the major four types of what we call as the market structure. So, tignan pa natin yung iba. Okay? Here. So, if you have any question regarding the subject matter, you can make a comment dito sa ilalim ng ating video. So here, determinants of market structure, right? Let's talk about the determinants of the market structure here. So we have here number of buyers and sellers, economies of scale. Then we have nature of the product, the entry barriers. Then we have the mobility of goods, factors of production, the government intervention. Ito yung mga determinants na nakakaapekto sa ating market structure, right? So always remember that. So ito yung mga determinants, no? Kasama na dyan yung government intervention kasi nga we are under what we call as a modified capitalism, no? Under a mixed economic system. Now another thing is, let's check this out. This one, the market structure. So ipapakita natin ulit kasi aside from the four market structures, we have other market structures in the economy, no? Okay, so let's look at this one. So here you will see for the sellers, we have the perfect competition, we have the monopolistic competition, we have the oligopoly, duopoly, and the monopoly. Alright, so mapapansin niyo sa market structure, no, nadagdagan natin. So, kanina kasi apat yung market structure na ibinigay natin. Ito lamang ay ang perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, then yung monopoly. But nagdagdag tayo ng isa pa, which is duopoly, that is under oligopoly. Alright? We will explain that later. Sa side ng buyers, no? Now, in terms of seller, meron din tayong mga market structure in terms ng seller, no? Ito nga yung monopsony and the oligopsony. Alright? Kasi ganito yan eh. Yung market structure na yan, O, kamukha nito. Yung market structure referring to the buyers, we have the monopoly market structure and the oligopoly market structure for the buyers. Sa sellers, meron din tayo sa sellers, no? Ang market structure. Ang sinasabi ron, ito ay ang monopsony for the seller and oligopsony for the seller as well, as a market structure, right? So, doon po nahahati yan. So, always remember, under what we call as the market structure, we always have the perfect competition, the monopolistic competition, monopoly, oligopoly. And under oligopoly, we have duopoly. Right? These are for the buyers, no, perspective. Right? But yung market structure naman na ang perspective ay sa seller, no? Alright. So, baliktad, no? Yung market structure na ang perspective ay para sa mga buyer, ito ay ang monopsony at oligopsony. Yung unang nabanggit natin kanina, this pertains to the seller. Right? The seller. Right? Let's repeat. So, yung market structure na ito na nagpapatukoy sa mga seller, no? Sa mga nagbebenta, ito ay ang perfect competition, monopolistic competition, monopoly, oligopoly, and yung under ng tinatawag nating oligopoly, yung duopoly. So, lahat ito, seller. Yun namang sa market structure na ang perspective ay sa buyer, we have what we call as the monopsony and the oligopsony. Right? So, I'm going to explain that, expound that to you, no? Maya-maya lang. So, tatandaan natin lagi yung market structures na yan sa loob ng ating ekonomiya. Okay? Huwag kayong mag-alala at papaulit-ulitin ko mamaya yan habang pinapaliwanag natin. Okay? Next. So, umpisa natin by looking at what do we meant by this market structure, right? Ano ba tong market structure na to? Okay. So, you will see here, lalakyan ko lang siya. Okay. So, you will see we have a market structure here regarding or pertains to the seller, ha? It pertains to the seller. So, we have ulitin natin, monopolistic competition, the perfect competition, monopoly, and oligopoly. Ito ay ang market structure ng mga seller. Alright? Now, ano ba ang market structure? Let's study now. Market structure, ito ay nagpapatukoy how different industries are classified and differentiated based on their degree and nature of competition for services and the goods, no? Now, yung apat na pinaka-popular na type ng market structure dito, which is based on the buyer's perspective, no? Seller's perspective, Seller's perspective, seller, nagbebenta. It includes perfect competition, oligopoly market, no? Monopoly market, and the monopolistic competition. So these four popular types of market structures pertains to what we call as the sellers, right? On the perspective of sellers. Perfect competition, oligopoly market, monopoly market, and the monopolistic competition. So yun ay pumapatungkoy mga katoto sa mga seller. Okay? Sa mga seller siya. Okay. Ngayon, tignan natin. I think we must explain this one by one so that you will understand what does it means. Okay, so we're through with what a market structure is. Let's talk about now perfect competition tayo. There. So what is this perfect competition? So in economic theory, perfect competition occurs when all companies sell. They sell identical products. Right? Market share does not influence the price. No? Companies are able to enter or exit without barrier. The buyers have perfect or full information, and the companies cannot determine the prices. Yan na nga sinasabi natin kanina, no? That the company cannot determine the prices, right? So they depend on the market. They depend on the consumer's behavior, right? Now, makikita ninyo may graph dito. I'm going to explain this briefly, no? Itong graph na nandito sa perfect competition. Lalakihan ko lang siya para maintindihan natin, ano? Here. If you will see here, guys, yung price natin na naka-indicate dyan, yung price, this is under what we call as perfect competition, ha? Yung price na naka-horizontal siya, no? Makikita ninyo kung saan nagbabanggaan, nag-i-intersect yung marginal cost, no, curve at yung average total cost curve. Doon natin itatapat itong quantity, no? So this one, P and Q, price and the quantity, no? This point, it determines that the demand, no, this demand line, no, demand curve is equals to the average revenue and as well as the marginal revenue. So dito yung presyo, dito katanggap-tanggap yung presyo sa perfect competition na ibinebenta ng mga buyer yung kanilang mga produkto. Alright? So doon lahat yan magbebentahan. It's within that curve, no? Line na yan, no? And with that broken line of the quantity, you will notice. The reason why the line of quantity is broken because it depends upon the consumer's behavior. Alright? If that will be increased, the quantity on that same price or not. Okay? So, yun yung ating perfect competition. Then, let's get some pictures pa para maintindihan natin ang perfect competition na yan. Okay? So, we're talking about the perfect competition. I'm going to give you some example here so that you can understand, no? Okay? Let me show you this. So, you must always understand what we call as the perfect competition so that hindi tayo malilito in terms of what we call as the market structure kasi it's very important and significant for us to understand what this market structure is, right? So that's perfect competition, right? Saka nga pala sa perfect competition, the products there are considered to be as it's homogeneous and it's identical. Okay? Now, let's see what we call as alright, so this is the perfect competition. Let's move to this monopolistic competition. Let's study this first. So when we talk about monopolistic competition, it characterizes an industry in which many firms offer the products or services that are similar but not perfect substitutes. So meaning to say, ito yung mga products which are differentiated, no? Barriers to entry and exit in a monopolistic competitive industry are low, and the decisions of any one firm do not directly affect those of its competitors. So ito yung monopolistic competition, and their products are considered to be as differentiated, no? Not unlike with the perfect competition, it is identical or homogeneous. Let's look at the example, right? Let's look at the example of this monopolistic competition. Okay, I'll show you the examples for this. There. So ito yung monopolistic competition. Many sellers and there are many firms competing for the same group of customers. So the product examples include books. Makikita nyo may books, CDs, movies, computer games, restaurants, fast food, cookies, furniture, etc. So ito yung sa monopolistic competition, right? So makikita nyo nandyan yung, let's enlarge this. Andyan ang pizza pie, Kentucky Fried Chicken, we have McDonald's, no? Makikita nyo rin dito yung Domino's Pizza, Blim Pie, Carl's Jr., Zaxby's, Real Chicken, Burger King, Subway, Eat Fresh, Crystal, Taco Bell, Hardee's. Then we also have Wendy's, hamburgers, Arby's, Dairy Queen, no? So, yung iba rito na matatagpuan natin dito sa ating bansa, sa Pilipinas, ng mga fast food chain. Yung iba naman ay nasa ibang bansa sa abroad. Yung iba mayroon sa Pilipinas, okay? Another thing, a very good example of a monopolistic competition is this one. So, check this out. Yeah, ito. Ito, example din to ng monopolistic competition. Right? Ang Pepsi at ang Coca-Cola. Right? So, kasi kung alam natin, kung makikita nyo yung Coke, marami rin siya mga products, no? May Coke Zero, etc. Ganun din yung Pepsi. Right? Ibalik ko lang yung ating kaninang pinull out na na data so that we can clearly understand. So ito yung kanyang graph under monopolistic competition. Right? Let me enlarge the graph. Right. Ayan guys yung monopolistic competition, no? So if you will notice, wait, let me move this graph. All right. So if you will notice here, let me wear my glass. Okay, so this is a monopolistic competition graph. Meaning to say, saan ba makikita yung sinasabi nating monopolistic competition? Here, you will see it. Okay? You will see it in the intersection here between the marginal cost and the average cost, right? And that's the equilibrium point, no? But here in P1, where magi-intersect ito sa Q1, ito yung tinatawag nating monopolistic competition, supernormal profit, no? So, dyan yung makikita yan. And we're going to try to explain that later. Okay? So the first line, downward sloping, is considered to be as the marginal revenue, which is under the supernormal profit under P1, while the downward sloping, the other one, which is outside the MR, is the demand curve, which equates to what we call as average revenue. Alright? So you will notice here that itong P1 sa Q1 na yan, dyan talaga makikita natin yung tinatawag na monopolistic competition. Right? Monopolistic competition. If you will see this one. Okay? Alright. As well as from this graph. From okay, PS, then the QS, right? Okay. That's monopolistic competition. Alright, so we're through with the perfect competition and the monopolistic competition. Actually, in the perfect competition, the products, example products there will be the agricultural products, no? The foreign exchange markets, no? As well as the online shopping, yeah. Yan yun sa perfect competition na tatandaan nyo lagi. So, sa perfect competition, ang example natin dyan, agricultural products, the foreign exchange market, no? As well as the online shopping. Alam naman natin yung online shopping, you know? Yung foreign exchange market, ito yung nagpapapukoy dun sa mga monetary currency. Right? Lalo na yung mga money exchange, no? Yung mga money exchange. So they're under what we call as perfect competition. Okay? And we also know na yung monopolistic competition. Right? Okay, next. Ang isusunod naman natin ay walang iba kundi ang, let's check this out. So what is this? Alright. So this one pertains to monopoly. So this is a monopoly. So this is a market structure characterized by a single seller selling a unique product in the market. So yan po yung monopoly market. The seller faces no competition as he is the sole seller of goods with no close substitute, and he enjoys the power of setting the price for his goods. So ito po ang monopoly, ha. Tignan natin yung graph niya. So kung makikita ninyo yung graph niya, ito. Siya ang nasusunod sa market in terms of pricing. So kung makikita ninyo, no, yung price which is related to the quantity, makikita niyo yung demand curve, no, it will equate to what we call as the average revenue equated to the price. Alright? So yan yung tinatawag nating monopoly. This is the monopoly graph, no? So makikita natin yung line dito, the economic profit loss, no? Kung tayo ay what we call this, bababa from that demand curve, magkakaroon tayo ng economic profit loss. And if ever we will have economic profit gain, no? Profit gain if we are going to near what we call as the average, no, average cost, no, average total cost, no, pag dun siya babangga dun sa red line na yan, alright, that's an economic profit gain. By that time na if the price will be lowered, there will be an economic profit gain, no, alright, but there will be an economic profit loss if itinuturo ng arrow dyan, that will be the price and that will be the quantity to be sold. Pero dito sa economic profit gain, we have a price which is lower than the above, as you see, no? And but the quantity is increased, no? The price is decreased, but the quantity is decreased. We still have an economic profit gain. Rather than increasing the price there, no, we will have an economic profit loss, right? So that's why the demand is equals to average revenue equate to what we call as the price. Now, tignan natin dito sa isang, yan. Alright. So, as you will see, we have here what we call as the monopoly graph. The red line is considered to be as the demand curve. Alright? So, dapat dito lang, no? Dito lang, no? Dito magbebenta. But, magbebenta ang seller in terms doon sa supply. The supply curve is colored blue. It's a curved line colored blue. Ito yan, lakihan natin. Yung blue, yan ang supply curve. Yung red, yan yung demand curve, if you will see. So, ang equilibrium point niya, mga katoto, ayon, PC, QC. Pag nag-intersect yan, yan na ang equilibrium point niya. Okay? Pag yan ay lumagpas doon, sa taas, sa equilibrium point, makikita nyo, magkakaroon tayo ng surplus. Pag yun namang equilibrium point na yan ay pababa, no? Ibababa mo rito, magkakaroon tayo dyan ng shortage. Kaso nga lang dito, if you will notice, doon sa pinakataas, meron tayong consumer surplus. That will be a consumer surplus, no? At itong blue, which pertains to the producer surplus, no? Ibig sabihin yan, so sobra yung mga products na ibinebenta. Alright? There will be an excess in terms of the producer surplus, as well as the consumer surplus. There is also an excess above, alright? Okay. So, that's what we meant by the monopoly. Okay? So, that is monopoly. Okay? So, let's look at the examples. Kasi examples ng monopoly. Ang mga example niyan, guys, like here in Metro Manila, they monopolize the what do you call that? The supply of the utility pertaining to electricity. That is under the Meralco, no? Pero dito naman sa water utility, it is being monopolized by what we call as the Maynilad, no? Maynilad. All right. So what else? So kasi if we're talking about monopoly, ito yung mga produkto at serbisyo na walang kawangis, walang ibang kayang mag-supply. Alright? Kundi sila lang. Alright? Okay. So, let's continue our discussion here. So, that's monopoly. And let's look at this one. Oligopoly. So when we talk about oligopoly, an oligopoly is a market characterized by a small number of firms who realize that they are interdependent in their pricing and output policies, right? The number of firms is small enough to give each firm some market power, right? Context, one typical asymmetric oligopoly is the dominant firm. Alright. So, pag sinabi nating oligopoly, it pertains to few firm in which they are the one who only supplies, no, that certain goods or services. Alright? Let's check this out pa. Okay. So, this is the graph of what we call as oligopoly. Tignan natin siya maigi. If you will notice, if you will notice, no, look at the red curve. The red curve is the average revenue which equates to the demand. So that is the red curve is the demand. All right, always remember that. Then the price, if you will notice, is greater than the marginal cost. All right, mas mataas ang price. Because why is it that the price is greater than the marginal cost? No, the reason why is that those firms which is under the market structure of oligopoly, they can dictate what they call as the price. They are price maker. Alright? Yan yung sinasabi natin kanina. They are price maker. Kasi nga, itong ang monopoly, oligopoly, they are considered to be as a price maker. Alright? Okay. Always remember that. Okay? So let's have an example here. Okay. Let me check the examples here. I have an example here pertaining to oligopoly. This one, yan. Okay, let's see. So this is a perfect example, ano? Examples of oligopoly abound and include the auto industry. Pag auto industry, mga katoto, oligopoly din yan. Cable TV, oligopoly yan. Commercial air travel, oligopoly. So oligopolistic firms are like cats in a bag. They can either scratch each other to pieces or cuddle up and get comfortable with one another. So ibig sabihin nun, minsan nag-aaway-away ang mga yan. Yung dalawang firm na yan, pwede silang mag-away. They're like cats. Pero dumarating yung panahon, nagti-team up sila. Alright? Itong dalawang oligopoly firm na to. Nagti-team up para magkaroon sila ng magandang product or good for services. Right? Another thing, natin dito, no? In terms of oligopoly, ito pa to eh. Ayan. I will show you. Ito, here. Ayan. Ito example din to ng oligopoly. Sony, BMG, Universal Music Group, we have Warner Music Group, and EMI. So, mga oligopoly to, no? Alright, oligopoly siya. So, let's check another. Let's see this one. Alright. So, this will be later. So, that's oligopoly. Now, the next thing is, let's look at this one. Alright. Duopoly. So, pag sinabi nating duopoly, guys, a duopoly is a type of oligopoly yan, where the two firms have dominant or exclusive control over a market. Right? It is the most commonly studied form of oligopoly due to its simplicity. Duopolies sell to consumers in a competitive market where the choice of an individual consumer cannot affect the firm. Right? So, yan yung duopoly. Right? So, another thing is, let me show you another one. Okay? Ayan. Here. Look at this graph regarding duopoly. So, kung mapapansin ninyo, yung blue line, yan yung demand curve. Yung red line naman, yan ang supply curve. Right? So, if you will notice, yung mga price maker po na market structure, ay makikita mo, lagpas doon sa pinaka-supply. Right? Pinaka-supply curve. Andyan, makikita mo, yung monopoly, duopoly, at oligopoly. Pero yung mga price taker, no, doon lang sila naglalaro sa loob ng equilibrium ng supply curve and demand curve. Kasi price taker sila eh. hindi nila kayang maging price maker kasi yung mga produkto nila kasi is either identical or differentiated. Not unlike the products of the market structure under monopoly, duopoly, and oligopoly. They can dictate the price because they are the only one who has the product, no, itself. All right? Okay, so itong duopoly po is under oligopoly. Kaya po duopoly yan, it pertains to two firm, no? To two firm which is related to each other. All right? Okay. Yung kanina pinakita ko sa inyo, pwedeng maging duopoly yun, yung under the monopolistic competition, Coca-Cola and Pepsi. All right? Pwede siya maging duopoly. Alright? So, let's check the other data here. Tingnan natin ibang data so that okay. So, if you have any comments or suggestion, just go ahead dun sa ibaba sa ating comment section. Alright. So, let's see this one. Back. Right. So, ngayon tapos na tayo doon sa mga buyers, no? Kasi mga buyers yan yung buyer's perspective in terms of market structure. Yung kaninang pinag-aralan natin, yung perfect competition, monopolistic competition, and the what you call this, monopoly, oligopoly, duopoly, right? So another thing is let's now study on the perspective of the seller, of the buyer, sorry, no? On the perspective of the buyer tayo ngayon. Kanina kasi we're talking about on the perspective of the seller. Ulitin ko, no? Seller na market structure. Ang seller na market structure ay ang perfect competition, monopolistic competition, monopoly, oligopoly, duopoly. Ngayon naman, dito naman tayo sa perspective ng buyer. Mga namimili naman. Ito yung una, yung monopsony. Tingnan natin. When we talk about monopsony, it's a market condition in which there is only one buyer. Yan ha. Isa lang po ang namimili. Ang tawag diyan, monopsonist. Like a monopoly, a monopsony also has imperfect market condition. A single buyer dominates a individual seller controls a monopolized market. Alright, dito pinapakita dito, no? Pinag-uusapan natin dito. Yung itong let me show you the graph here. Kung mapapansin niyo itong graph na to, no? You will notice yan. Kasi isa lang yung buyer. So, kung isa lang yung buyer, mapapansin niyo, the buyer can dictate the price, no? Sa buyer, papaliwanag ko sa inyo mamaya yan. The buyer can dictate the price. So look at the supply curve. You will notice there are two lines, no, intersecting the demand curve. All right? So it's because bakit ganito to? Kasi nga iisa lang ang tinatawag nating buyer, no? Iisa lang yung namimili. Isa lang siya. So, ibig sabihin, sa lahat ng produkto na nandyan, maaaring isa lang ang bibili. No? O kamukha ng tubo. No? Kamukha nung mangingisda. Kung yung isang mangingisda ay nakahuli siya. No? mga 10 mangingisda nagpalaot sa dagat at nakahuli, ibebenta nila ito pagdating sa Pampang. Pagdating sa Pampang, ibebenta nila to. At meron lang isang buyer doon sa Pampang na pagbebentahan nila. Ang tawag doon, monopsony. Kasi nga, namomonopolize, no? Namomonopsonize ng buyer yung presyo, no? So, kung isa lang yung buyer, maaari niya itong mabarat, no? Mabarat niya yung mga nagbebenta. Kaya niyang mabarat yung mga seller, itong buyer na to. Kasi isa lang siya. Kaya ang tawag sa kanya, monopsony. So, ito po yung kaso pinagbabawal yan dito sa Pilipinas. Ito po yung agency na maaaring manghuli doon sa mga nagbebenta, no? Sa mga nagbebenta, sa mga bumibili, no? Ito po ay isang agency na nanguhuli doon sa mga nangbabarat na bumibili ng produkto ng mga seller. Tingnan natin to. I'll show it to you, no? Ito yun. Ito yung agency na yun. Ito siya. There. Ito yun, no? So, ipinagbabawal ng PCC ang monopsony. Ano po ba yung PCC? Tingnan natin. So, it's the Republic of the Philippines pertaining to the Philippine Competition Commission, no? Ensuring businesses, no? Ensuring what we call as the businesses compete and consumers benefit. So, ipinagbabawal po ng Philippine Competition Commission ang monopsony. Alright? So, yun po yung ahensya. So, bawal yun ng babarat, no? Yan ay applicable lang kung isa lang yung buyer, no? Yung PCC na yan. So, pinagbabawal niya yung monopsony. Kasi sa monopsony, namamanipula niya yung presyo. So, nadidikta niya, kaya nababarat niya. Kasi siya lang yung mag-isang bumibili ng produkto. Alright? Okay, next. I hope you understand this, no? Monopsony. Another thing is, aside from monopsony, may tinatawag tayong oligopsony. Pero what's this? I think you need to see this first. Ito. Ayan. Ito yung monopsony market for electricity. Kung makikita ninyo, so, in varying degrees, nagbabago yung tinatawag nating supply curve here. Kung makikita ninyo, yung blue line, yan ang ating demand curve, at yung red line, yun yung ating supply curve. Alright? Because of monopsony, ito, kamukha nito, doon sa pinakamataas na price level, yan ang ipapatong ng tinatawag nating monopsony to be able to what we call as to profit, no? To profit, pwede niyang taasan yan, o kaya naman minsan ibinababa niya. So, kung makikita nyo to the lowest level, so PC, QC, makita point B. So, ang mga nagmo-monopsony, no, they try to actually lower the price, but the price is marked at point A, but some of them are decreasing them to point B, minsan up to point C. So, yan yung monopsony, kaya nga ipinagbabawal ito na iisa kasi magkakaroon ng panlalamang, alright, sa ating mga seller. Alright? Actually, usong-uso yan sa kamukha ng mga magtutubo, magkuuling, mangingisda, no? So, that's what we call as monopsony. So, next is, let's talk about this one, oligopsony. Ito naman guys, oligopsony, market is a market for a product or service which is dominated by few large buyers. So the concentration of demand in just a few parties gives each substantial power over the sellers and can effectively keep prices down. So the opposite effect can be seen in an oligopoly. So dito sa oligopoly guys, no, kung makikita ninyo, ayan, meron siyang grupo ng buyers dito. Sa oligopoly, grupo naman siya ng buyers, no, na nagmamanipulate doon sa mga. So actually, meron tayong example niyan, yung o kamukha na lang nung yung dalawang meat industry like Monterrey, ano ba yung isa? Monterrey na nagsusupply ng mga manok, no? And other company na nagsusupply din ng manok, which they supply the what they call that, they supply the fast food chain, ano? The fast food chain. Now, the fast food chain will pose as our party in terms of buying those chicken. Alright? So, itong fast food chain, no? Whether it is Jollibee or Mang Inasal, no? Jollibee, ang Jollibee kasi, Mang Inasal, isa lang din yan. McDonald's here in the Philippines, sila ang tatayo under what we call as oligopoly. Alright? Sila yung mga oligopoly na namimili ng mga manok. Alright? Manok dito sa ating market. Alright? Okay. So that's oligopoly. Okay. So next is, let's try to check this. Check the other. Meron ako dito hindi nakuha eh. So, like this one. Ito. Kamukha nito. Yung kanina, duopoly. Aside from sinabi ko kanina, Pepsi and Coke can be an oligopoly under duopoly. Dito, in duopoly rito, no? Ibalik ko lang yung example na to. Smartphone. Yung Apple and Android, no? Can be an example of a duopoly. Yung electronic payments naman, guys, yung MasterCard and Visa can be an example of what we call as duopoly. Yung binanggit ko kanina, yung Coca-Cola and Pepsi, can be an example of a duopoly. So, high-end auctions for art and antiques, Sotheby's and Christie's. Alright. So, ito yung mga example ng duopoly kanina na hindi ko na ipakita sa inyo. Alright. So, these are considered to be as the market structures, no? Iisa-isay natin ulit, no? Tingnan natin para walang problema. These are the market structures in our economy. So, first thing is let's look at the market structure pertaining to the seller's perspective. Seller. So we have the perfect competition, monopolistic competition. We have the monopoly, oligopoly, and under oligopoly we have duopoly. All right. Now, under what we call as the market structure, on the perspective of the buyers, we have the monopsony and the oligopsony. Alright? Okay. So, now, the competitive market, no, is situated dito sa market structure ng perfect competition at ng monopolistic competition. Right? Pero yung non-competitive market, this is situated dito sa monopoly at oligopoly. No? At isa pang type niya under ng oligopoly, which is duopoly, no? Under the non-competitive market. Right? Now, another thing is that the price takers are the market structures under the perfect competition and the monopolistic competition. They are price takers. But the price makers no, price makers po under what we call as the market structure, monopoly, oligopoly, and duopoly. They are considered to be as price maker. All right. So I hope you understand the studies regarding market structure. Now, in terms of the graph, we're going to discuss the graph uh, specifically sa mga susunod pa nating video, right, to clarify it, right? So, if you have any comments, just write it down here below our video. Now, please subscribe to my channel, and then watch, like, share, and comment, right? And then please do not forget to ring the bell to give you updates, notification for my upcoming videos. So, God bless us all, and God bless the Philippines. Thank you very much for watching. I hope nakatulong itong video sa inyo. Maraming salamat.